welcome to another episode of Is That a Credible Claim? How do we show it? How do we prove it? This morning on Morning Report, Christopher Luxon claimed to Ingrid Hipkiss that all trading nations with the US had moved back to the 10% baseline tariff. Listen here to hear that claim made by Christopher Luxon.
Well, just remember all countries now are back at a baseline 10%.
But is it really true that Christopher Luxon is correct that all trading nations with the United States have moved back to the 10% tariffs? Well, look no further than China for an example of a country that's not back on 10%. Al Jazeera has just reported today that President Trump has said that China is not off the hook when it comes to exemptions for electronics and for high-tech imports, saying it's really just moved to a 20% tariff bucket. And is it really true that all nations that trade with the United States are back on 10%? Well, not according to the BBC. The BBC notes that Russia didn't get any tariffs applied, and the reason for that was that Trump said there were already sanctions against Russia, so it wouldn't really make much difference. The India Express also noted that there were two countries that didn't have any kind of baseline 10%, and one of those was North Korea. Now, North Korea is basically banned from doing trade with the United States, but there are exceptions around humanitarian goods and aid. So, technically speaking, there are a couple of countries that haven't actually had a 10% baseline, so it's not all countries. And China is not on 10% baseline, according to the latest information from Al Jazeera about what Trump is doing with regard to exceptions for electronic goods. So in conclusion, is this claim made by Christopher Luxon this morning on Radio New Zealand Morning Report true?
Well, just remember all countries now are back at a baseline 10%.
It's not true. It's factually incorrect, it's inaccurate, and it's misleading of the New Zealand Prime Minister. It undermines the trust in the Prime Minister and whether he really knows what's going on at all in the world of trade. That's all for another episode of Is That a Credible Claim? And I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you all soon.